Welcome again. I'm back. I took a little hiatus from the podcast. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. Either way is fine. But this is season 3. Welcome to season 3, launching fall of 2025. So if you're listening to this at any other time, that's fine. There's no timestamp on these podcast episodes. But for those of you who sort of follow me consistently, I did take a little break. Why? For all the business reasons. The podcast is an investment of time, it's an investment of resources, and sometimes you have to evaluate that against other things. And my heart is in this podcast. My heart is in supporting people in this way. I love podcasts. I listen to them every day. And so I think it's a really phenomenal platform. I was sad to walk away from it, but sometimes we have to just shift our priorities and we have to be okay with that. And we have to align with our decisions for all the reasons. But I'm back. And what I want to talk about today is something I've talked about many times in the past, and I will continue to talk about it because it's fundamental to your business well-being, to your personal well-being, to your mindset, and everything in between. So let's talk about money. Money, money, money. Money is this very interesting thing. It's fake, right? How many people tangibly use money in transactions day to day? You don't go to the phone company anymore and hand them a bunch of cash, right? It's all digital. It's this whole digital ecosystem. So it's kind of this made up barter. We exchange money for things, for services, for all of everything that we interact with. There was some exchange of money in some way, shape, or form at some point. Even to the point of like having kids. You birth the kid in a hospital. There are people there working, getting paid a salary. That money is coming from somewhere. Like there's always some financial exchange at some point along the way. Now, is that inherently good or bad? No. Can we be neutral about that? Yes, but we're not. Because there are people who feel like, well, capitalism is fundamentally wrong. So if I'm being a part of that system, somehow there's something wrong with that. Or capitalism is fundamentally right. Like people should work hard and get ahead and make more money, and there should be financial reward on the back of that, and that's good. So we associate ourselves with some kind of political slant around money. And we also associate ourselves with some kind of our personal worth being tied up in money. We look at people around us, we compare and contrast in relationship to money. We use money as a reward. We use money as something that we take away from people, right? So if we're politically not aligned with a country, let's say, then the first thing we do is we implement sanctions. So there's no more money flowing to that country. Right. And we might do that in our personal life too. Like, hey, kid, you're getting money for doing chores. You stop doing chores. I stop giving you money, or your behavior starts to change and we need to discipline you. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is stop paying your allowance. So we use money in all these different ways. We use it as a barter. We use it as a reward system. We use it as a disciplinary system. It's somehow interlinked with everything. And yet we don't talk about it. It's this really, really strong force that's everywhere around us. And still, there's all of this, we're not allowed to talk about it. Like there's a lot of sensibility around this idea that somehow it's bad to talk about it. We're not supposed to talk about how much we make. We're not supposed to talk about how much we're in debt. We're not, there's so much shame tied up in it and so much ideology, politics, everything is tied up in this one simple thing, not simple, that is essentially fake, right? It's kind of more a theory and an idea than it is a tangible thing. It's very rare, particularly in certain countries, that you really interact with this tangible piece of paper or coin that is money. So, how do we get to the point where we can make all the emotional stuff about money neutral, that we can accept the fact that we need it and that we need it to survive, and that we can get over the hurdle of maybe we want more than we have? Can we make that okay? And also, if we're the kind of people that feel guilty about having money, can we get into the mindset of money allows us to help people in a new way? So, all of that to be said, when you're in business for yourself, whether a freelancer, a contractor, selling a product, or selling a service, when you're in business and there's a money transaction happening, what is a hard hurdle for a lot of my clients to get over is setting a rate that feels both fair and elevated enough where they feel like there's no bitterness or resentment in that number. And also a number that feels like it's commiserate with their experience level, their knowledge base, and what they bring to the table. It's hard for my clients to find alignment across all of those places, and it might be hard for you. So, it might be hard for you even as an employee to negotiate a salary that really feels like it fits the value you're bringing to the organization. So, let's figure out what is holding you back. What I want you to do, I'm gonna make this an interactive podcast session. If you're walking or driving, then you're gonna have to come back to this part and do it when you're sitting still and can grab a piece of paper. What I want you to do is write 3 sentences, thoughts, stories connected to your past understanding of money. Okay, because we're in the present and you're bringing here the results that you're having right now around money are coming from your past. So we're going to start in the past. 3 sentences about money, money past, situations you've gotten yourself in, situations that might have come from your family members, situations that you've seen in the world. 3 sentences. Now, there are facts. I have X amount of money in the bank. There are thoughts. I don't have enough money. And there are stories. I'm not good with money. The difference here is a fact is indisputable. Somebody opens your bank account, they see how much money is there, it's a fact, right? Now, that amount of money may not reflect the other 2 thoughts, the other story. I'm not good with money. Oftentimes, people are not honest when they're looking at their bank account versus what their story is. This is not true for everyone. If your bank account is $1,000 and you have 3,000 worth of bills, then this idea of, I'm not good with money, there's never enough money, all these ideas, they're going to feel more true because you're seeing the result. But what I would like to challenge is this idea that if you could reformat your old stories from the past that you're bringing forward into your present, if we can extinguish them, heal them, shift them in a positive way, then from present to future, we might create a different result. I say might, I don't have a crystal ball, but I've seen it work. And it's not always about just mindset, right? If anyone knows me and knows my coaching style, it's about mindset and action. Because the action is going to bring up the pain points And if you never take action, you're never going to feel uncomfortable. You're never going to know the mindset blocks that are in your way. So look at these 3 sentences that you wrote down. These are coming from your past. And I want you to write down next to each one of these thoughts. Is it something to heal? Is it something just to reconfigure? Like there's a new thought you might want to try on? Or is it a fact? Those are the only 3 options you get. So just make note next to each one of these sentences that you wrote out. Now, if it's something to heal, then there are lots of ways to go about healing these old money wounds. I'm not a healer, okay? I will I will give you or invite you to try one thing. If it doesn't work for you, you can Google how to heal money blocks and you will get an array of YouTube videos. I also know amazing people who can help in that space. You can always reach out to me. I can make a recommendation. But one of the things I will offer you is keep that sentence running, whatever it is that's coming from your past that you feel like you need to heal. So, my family was never good with money. My dad overspent, and I learned how to manage money by watching this constant fluctuation of scarcity and abundance. Okay, that's it. Some of it may be factual, but it's really inside of a bigger story that needs to get healed because we can look at that as a fact, but the longer we think it's a fact, the more we're going to cut ourselves off from changing the results in our lives, changing the way we look at money. So one of the things you can do is just like spin out that story, like all the extensions of that story, all the things you really believe and all the things that feel true. Just spin them all out. You can download them all on a piece of paper. You can just spin them out in your brain. And then really focus on what is the sensation in your body? What is the feeling that's coming up? Is it sadness, disappointment, frustration, rebellion? What do you feel? What is the strongest sensation in your body? And then just like feel it, feel it, feel it as much as you can. Like go deep. Like let it come. Maybe tears come up, maybe you start shaking, like just be in it deeply. Not for that long, right? Like this emotional waves are typically like the maximum amount of time is like 90 seconds. When you're really sobbing uncontrollably about something, you might have this peak of like a 90-second peak and then it starts to drop off. So just let yourself feel it deeply. Spin the stories. Tell yourself the thing as if it's real. 90 seconds. And then take a deep breath. Let it settle. And then tell yourself, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on from that story. It's not going to happen overnight. That story's been in there for a while. So then what you want to do going forward is just note when it comes up. Be curious about it. This is not about shaming yourself or telling yourself you've done anything wrong. All of your choices have arrived you here in the present. And now as we go into the future, we're going to try to make some new changes and some shifts into changing your dynamic with money and the results of how money shows up in your life. Okay, but we can't change the past. So once you kind of let all those emotions come up, allow, let it pass, let it settle, take a deep breath, and then start to shift out of that story into a new story. And again, that transition can take a while. You might want help just digging into that space in between those 2 ideas. So now we want to try on a new idea. What is the new idea, the new way we want to approach money going from here to the future? So I want you now to write 3 sentences that are coming from someone, hopefully you, someone who does not have any struggle with money. Money is not something that brings up heavy emotions for them. It feels clean. It feels clear. It feels easy. There's no worry. There's no attachment. Everything around money is good. Well, I mean, I even hesitate to use the word good, but like clean. Like it's the word good just keeps coming up. But there are no issues around money. There's plenty of it. There's no emotional attachment or detachment from it. It's just kind of neutral, but there's enough and everything feels good. So what are the 3 sentences that someone who has no healing to do around money, coming from that place of like, there's plenty, I'm not worried about it. What are 3 thoughts that they have about money? Write them down. Now go into those thoughts as if they're 100% facts, as if they're 100% true, and spin them out. Spin them out. Just like tell yourself over and over. And what is the feeling that comes up? What sort of momentum, drive, energy, lightness, excitement, butterflies in your stomach? Like, what is generated when you're spinning out these new stories, these new thoughts about money? What's the feeling that comes up? That is a feeling, whatever it is, let's call it calm. That feeling of calm is now our new focus from here into the future. And I know it feels like it's not related. It's not related. It's 100% related because when you don't feel calm in your business, you create chaos. And when you create chaos, you don't create high value. And when you don't create high value, guess what happens? You don't create revenue. People don't want to pay you because it's just chaotic. The work's not getting done. The work's low quality. There's not a great result coming from the work you're providing because you're not calm. Isn't it funny how that works? It's like it seems so disconnected from the result that you're looking for, but it's not. So whatever feeling came up, you don't have to assign a feeling. Whatever feeling came up, that's the feeling we want to take forward now. And there are lots of ways in. So if the feeling was calm, which came up in a client session recently, so I think it's a great place to focus. If that feeling is calm, what are all the things that you can do to create calm in your life? And we need to now focus on that as a priority. That sense of calm is what is going to create this result that you're looking for, which is there's plenty of money. I'm not worried about it. There are thoughts that cultivate that feeling, and there are actions that cultivate that feeling. There are lots of things you can do to create calm. Of course, we procrastinate against them. We're like, no, I need to work. And the irony is your work is going to suffer if you're not calm. So prioritize calm. Find the calm and then do the work. It's so hard for people to realize that those 2 things are connected. You're not going to do good work unless you're calm. So find a way in. How do you find the calm? And whatever that feeling is for you, find the way in. So you've written those 3 thoughts. I want you to now just jot down what are all the ways in to that feeling. Not related to your work, not related to those 3 thoughts you wrote down. What's a way in? If relaxed is a feeling, if safe is a feeling, what are all the ways that contribute to you feeling safe? And it can be things like putting on a weighted blanket makes me feel safe, or like cuddling with my pet makes me feel safe, or locking the doors at night make me feel safe. There are lots of ways in. What really truly brings on that feeling? What we're trying to do is cultivate that feeling as much as we can. That's part of this healing process. And you're like, how is that related to money? It is, because that's the feeling that you have when you're like, money is not a concern. It brought up that feeling for you. It's very personal. Find all the ways to cultivate that feeling. And when you're fighting against that feeling, when you're like, oh no, I, you know, I know I need to feel calm, but really what I need to do is get through this priority list. I need to do my to-dos, all my to-dos before I can feel calm. Like, no, that's not how we're doing this. We're not going to do that anymore. That's an old pattern that hasn't worked, right? That's tied to your past. That's a past behavior that has not gotten you the result. So we're going to stop doing the things you used to do, which is let me just work, 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 work. And then when I get done with all the big projects and all the assignments and all the deadlines, then I'll feel calm. We all know life moves fast. And as soon as you're done with that project, a tree is going to fall down in your backyard and you're going to have to figure it out. That's what happened to me. Life will not stop so that you can feel calm. So you need to feel calm inside of the chaos of life so that you can take that calm forward. And I know I'm using that word a lot, but I know that's a word that people associate with. If I didn't have to worry about money, I would feel more calm. If I didn't have to worry about my work, I'd feel more calm. So let's feel more calm without changing anything, without changing your circumstances. Find all the ways into that feeling that came up for you. Okay, mindset work. Action. From that feeling of calm, what is one step you can do to change your dynamic with money? Okay, so there's mindset, I want to feel calm, and then there's an action. And the action is related to disrupting those old three thoughts. So if the old thought is, I'm not good with money, and we want to go to the opposite of that, which is, I am good with money, and we're coming from this sensation of calm, what can you do to learn about money? Let's call it learning about investing from a place of calm, not from a place of it's just another thing to add to my to-do list. I got to like get in the webinar. I got to do the blah, from a place of calm that feels very personal to you. What is something you want to learn that's going to bolster your knowledge and understanding of how to manage money? It's personal to you. It should come from that place of whatever that emotion was. If it was excitement, what kind of things get you excited in the process of learning how to manage money? I was investigating like an MBA program for a while that focused on managing people's finances. And I used to be afraid of money and I used to feel like I was bad at it. And then I started managing other people's finances in their bit, not managing, but working through business finance with people. And I was like, shit, I'm really good at this. I'm really good at this. And so from that place of excitement and wanting to dig in and learning more, I started exploring these programs of like, what if I could become like a CFO? That would be cool. Let me do an MBA to get me there. Okay. I didn't do it because I started thinking about other things I wanted to do. I did sign up for a different program, totally unrelated, but it's more focused on the feeling that I'm trying to generate right now. Anyway, just long-winded way of saying there's a way into that feeling that also starts to shift those original three thoughts to these second three thoughts. So look for what's the opposite of that first thought. And then what's something that feels like it's coming from that emotion that I can do to take an action? The action part is really critical. If we get stuck in the mindset work, that's a form of procrastination. If we're just like, hey, mindset, 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 personal growth, personal growth, personal growth, it gets stunted because the thing that actually makes you grow is the thing that makes you uncomfortable. You got to step out of the personal growth. Let me just read more. Let me just take another class and into the action. And the action might be signing up for a class, but it needs to be something related to money if that's the place where you feel like there's a block. Does that make sense? So don't make it about like, let me go try on this other thing. Unless you feel like I really need to work through how to cultivate this emotion, and so therefore I'm going to do this other thing, fine. But if what we're doing is really trying to change your relationship to money, we need to take some finite action. Another example, you overspend, you get yourself into debt. So the thought is, I don't know how to manage money. I'm always in debt. And of course, that's the result that you're also generating in your life. We want to change that into, I don't have any debt. I'm comfortable with money. I'm good at managing money. Well, an action on the way to that is you need to stop spending more than you are making. And that's really freaking uncomfortable because we see people around us having all these luxuries and having all these things that we want, and so we buy them before we can afford them. So that's an example of you're gonna have to get uncomfortable, and you're gonna have to make that budget very strict on the way to you learning how to better manage your money. This is a complete vulnerable, needing to be honest moment in your life, but the thing that doesn't belong here is guilt or shame. Money is just a fake thing. Don't allow it to control your self-worth. It's not connected to your self-worth. We've gotten into believing that to be true, but if you disconnect people from money, if you say, "Okay, I have this friend, they make shitloads of money," if you really look in there, if you really pull back the curtain, is everything just perfect in their life? No. Money solves a lot of things, but it doesn't solve everything. And who you are as a human being and the way you show up in the world really doesn't have anything to do with anything external. It's just about you and who you are and your personality and how you show up and the way you help people and your whole mode of operation, right? It's not tied to anything else. So money's not going to solve all the problems, but we want to repair the relationship so that you can feel into a feeling that you've been keeping yourself from, thinking that you don't deserve it or it's not allowed. So heal the past stories, bring yourself to the present without any guilt or shame, shift those old stories, find that feeling to embrace and to cultivate, and then take a viable action towards changing the way you've done it in the past. We have a tendency, even if we know the answer, even if we know what to change, even if we know we should be taking fish oil every day, we don't. And then we're like, well, how come my skin's so dry? Or how come I don't have this or that fish oil? I don't know why I'm using fish oil as an example, but there are so many things. I'm not drinking enough water. I'm not taking enough, I don't know, creatine, all the trendy things that we're supposed to be doing. You can shame yourself about it. You can tell yourself, I know I should be doing it, and I'm not doing it. You're not going to get a new result if you just keep going back. So, if you know the ingredients to something that could shift and could be better for you, and you're not following that path, then you know why you're not getting new results. But we don't like change, and we think it's easier to just go back to the way we were doing it. It's a safety zone, it's comfortable. I see when I'm doing change management with companies, as soon as it gets busy, they revert back to the old way. As soon as life gets busy and hectic and overwhelming, you don't want to do things the new way. You don't want to cultivate calm. You're just like, oh shit, I've got so much to do. I just got to sit down and get it done. And you go back to that old mentality. This is part of the long-term growth trajectory for you. You want to change your relationship to money forever, not tomorrow, not today. You want to change it forever. And you're not going to be able to do that between today and tomorrow. It's going to be something that you have to look at and be curious about and keep taking action on. And I'm sorry to tell you that. You can't just like take a pill and then it's like, ooh, money's coming in. Look at that. I took the Ozempic and now it's just like money's flowing through the door. Like it's not that simple. If you want to make a long-term change, there's never going to be a pill that gets you there. I'm sorry. Even creatine, like you got to do the workout to get the muscles. You can't just take the pill and think the water is going to like pump up your muscles. It's just not going to work that way. So you need to do this work to change the result. If you don't want to change the result, if you want to stay in debt and you want to stay in this space of I'm not good with money, stay there. Nobody's forcing you out of it. If you want to make the change, you have to heal. You have to start being curious about where all the places are it's coming up for you. You have to cultivate that new feeling, those new ideas, those new thoughts, and then you have to take action. And then you learn from every action. It's not just immediately going to change. Every action is going to teach you new things. And I know we're all like fatigued by learning. Like, do we really have to learn anything else? Like, why do we have to always be on this like learning trajectory? We chose this. Like, we are human beings. We are always in a state of learning and evolving. That's our cells are constantly turning over. Like, this is the human journey. So just have fun with it. Have fun with it. Like, don't make it a burden. Whatever that feeling was, I'm hoping it feels good, right? Like, we don't want to go from feeling bad about money to feeling worse about money. We want to just turn it into some kind of fun game. Make it exciting, make it calm, make it relaxing, make it safe. Cultivating those feelings is never going to be a bad thing. You're going to feel better no matter what. Even if you don't have more money, you're going to be calm. Yay. That's a win. Win. Total win. So that is my spiel about money for today. I hope it was helpful. I hope there are some things that you can kind of pull forward and take on and try on. You can always reach out to me for support. I'm always here. I love working through money issues with people. I think it's fun. I like to change the game. And I love to reach. I love to reach into big numbers just because why not? It's all fake anyway. It's all fake anyway. So let's have fun. Let's have fun with it. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. And I will talk to you next week.